Hey, what's good with y'all, man? What's good? It's the Thawahgabar for Black Authentic Truth. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tapping in. I appreciate it. Let me make sure I got to do a sound check. Make sure I got my sound together. Yeah, man. We're going to get into it. I know I'm going a little late. But you know it is what it is. Going a little late. And I may be, as my schedule changed, I may be going even later. Going a little late. Yeah. Sounds like the y'all give me a second. It sounds like the little off. Let's see. Let's work this. Yes, it's definitely off. That should do it. See where we at. Testing 1, 2, 3. See where we at. Perfect. That is perfect. See where we at. Perfect. That is perfect. There's always there's always a glitch. Always some kind of glitch or something that messes up right before I go live. I think a lot of people that go live, I think they would agree with that. But you know, it's better to be late than never. Okay, so I'm in the building. Thank everybody for rocking with me. Like I always say, I ask people, how is their Sunday going? It's definitely evening, especially on the East Coast. It's nighttime. And also, a thing that I like to say also is this: I don't have any complaints. There are things that might not be going right in my life, in your life, but at the end of the day, we're in our right state of mind. We here, we got our health, and we can always find somebody that is doing way worse than us. So that's the perspective. We're gonna keep it black and authentic. We're gonna keep it moving. We're gonna, roll with all the punches. All right. Yeah, so let me make sure. Without further ado, I'm going to get into the topics that I want to run through, because there are a few topics I want to run through. And throughout this live, I'm gonna just ask people to just share the live. That's probably what I should be doing right now, but I think I just want to get right into it. So this first story that I want to talk about, I should have covered it when it happened. It happened 2 weeks ago. A young child drowned at the beach. It really struck me because this is one of the beaches, the same beach that I frequent a lot with my family. And I think there's some things that we can learn from this. So let me screenshot this story. I always say screenshot, but share the screen of this story, and then we'll go over it. Right.
Good evening, I'm Michael.
And I'm Cher Calvin. Breaking news. Days after a young girl was violently swept into the ocean by a powerful surf at Laguna Beach, her body has been recovered.
Her father is speaking tonight about the heartbreaking tragedy. KTLA Shelby Nelson spoke with him a short time ago. She's live in Laguna Beach. Shelby.
Hi, Cher, Micah. We are learning that this was 5-year-old Amada Mia Brown. As you both said, we just talked to her dad a second ago, and he says that she loved K-pop Demon Hunters and Frozen and all the things little girls love. And he says that day on Tuesday was just any regular beach day. Now, let me step out so you can watch from here, but they're starting a vigil right above the beach where this all happened. Now, as he told us earlier, it was just a regular beach day for Amada, her brother, and their mom when this all turned to tragedy.
This is my daughter, Amada Mia. She's 5 years old, sweet, very outgoing child, very energetic, full of life. And, I miss her a lot.
A family in mourning after search and recovery officials confirmed their worst fears. A little girl's body has now been recovered off the coast of Laguna Beach, nearly a quarter-mile north from the area she was last seen with her family Tuesday night. Her father, Aaron Brown, saying she was 5-year-old Amada Mia Brown.
Just thinking about what my daughter might have been going through in her last moments. Pretty sure she was scared. And just not being able to be there for her is pretty much the main thing I was thinking about.
Officials with the Laguna Beach Marine Safety Team say early Thursday morning, the Laguna Beach Police Department spotted Amada's body while doing an aerial sweep about 300 yards offshore of Christmas Cove, the northernmost beach of the coastal city. The discovery happening more than 24 hours after Amada went missing. Aaron isn't with Amada's mom anymore, but says he got a frantic call from her Tuesday after she and their 2 kids were swept into the ocean by a powerful current. Bystanders helped Amada's mom and brother out of the water, but Amada sadly never made it out. The family gathering where it happened to hold a small vigil. The Orange County coastline has been pounded by high surf, waves as high as 11 feet, and powerful rip currents in recent days. It's why lifeguards have been closely watching those in the water and warning those outside of the water to stay away. Early on in the search, several agencies were involved, including the U.S. Coast Guard. We saw family at the beach, all visibly distraught, with trauma specialists by their side.
Pointing fingers isn't what we need to do right now. I just want to mourn for my daughter and celebrate her life.
That is a rough situation. That's a rough situation for this father. It says that he wasn't with the mother, but the mother basically went into the ocean with her 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, the little sister right there that you've seen in the picture that drowned. And she wasn't ready for those waves, and her and her children got swept away. And if it wasn't for bystanders that were just walking by, they wouldn't have got rescued, but they were unable to find the 5-year-old. This story is a cautionary story because many times people are not educated on how waves work, how the ocean works. A lot of people, if you didn't grow up around the ocean, I wouldn't suggest getting into the ocean. And I know that from experience, okay? Because I've almost drowned from experience. And it's just sad and unfortunate. So I feel like this is a good teaching tool to remind parents, especially Black parents, that if you are not educated on the way the ocean works, it's not a swimming pool. You know, it's not a kiddie pool. If you're not educated on that, don't go deep into the water with your little children, okay? And also try to learn about where you're going and learn about the ocean and learn if it's been high tide. Like they said, it was high tide on the Orange County coastline. And so it was just a disaster waiting to happen. And all it took was someone that didn't understand the ocean to go and get in the ocean with their kids. And now a 5-year-old is dead. And it's just a sad, sad story. And I send condolences to that brother and his family. All right. That's something that we all can learn from. And I've said the story before about what happened with me. I swam out really far. I I didn't grow up around the ocean. You know, we grew up going to the recreation center, getting in swimming pools and stuff. So I'm thinking because I'm young, I'm strong and all of that, and I can swim, that I can handle it. And I swim out like as far as the end of a pier in the ocean, and which is pretty impressive if you really think about it. But then a big wave hit me and it was a wrap. I'm telling you, a big wave hit me and I could not regain my composure. And then I started panicking, and then you get tired, and then you just like, this is it. But that's typically what happens in the ocean because people don't understand rip currents. They don't understand the strength of the waves. And then you start to panic, and in panicking, you're fighting to swim, and then you get tired. And then that's how you drown. All right. Shout out to Madana, Ron Coleman. Hey, shalom to you, brother. Renee Gaines. Yes, it's a very sad story. Very sad story. So now I'm going to pivot. Okay, I'm going to move on. Let me remove this. Move on to this story. Okay. This story of this sister, Tonia Miller, this sister that was found hanging in Miami-Dade in a park. Of course, the official story has come out. I'm gonna play the video. They, you know how it always is when our people are found hanging from a tree. It's never what historically it's always been. It's always, they took their own life. But let me play this video of the new. That means I might have to screen share again, not screenshot like I've been saying, right? But her family, her sister disputes what the police are saying. They're saying that they didn't find any signs of foul play, and you know how it is. Let me get it. All right. Yeah, shout out to everybody that's rocking with me. Appreciate y'all, man. You know I do. Let me see. Oh, so I can. So I'm still sharing it. Let me see. Well, where is it at then? Okay, here it is. Let's remove this and add this to the stage.
The death of a Michigan woman in South Florida has gained a lot of attention online. Now, a family member is pleading for answers after deputies say that they found her sister dead near Gwen Cherry Park in Miami-Dade County last week. Detectives say that their investigation found no evidence of foul play and say that it appears that she died by suicide. A woman's sister, however, strongly disputes that.
If anybody knew that my sister knew my sister turned in the call, that's the last thing she would do. That's the last thing she's thinking about. She loved life too much.
Deputies say Tone's body was found last Thursday morning. Investigators say her belongings were with her and they found no signs of violence. Over the past week, Miller's death has drawn growing attention on social media. Today, the NAACP and community leaders call for transparency in the investigation. The Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office attended today's news conference to say that the case is closed, though they say that they will review any credible new information brought forward.
Based on the totality of the evidence gathered, during this investigation, detectives found no evidence that Ms. Miller's death was the result of foul play. We understand that this does not lessen the grief of those that loved Ms. Miller, nor does it erase the difficult questions that often follow a tragic loss.
Experts say mental health struggles can be complex.
Yeah. Isn't that what they always say? Isn't that what they always say? They always say, no signs of foul play. It would be very horrible for it to come out that white people are still lynching black people. That would be a really bad thing. That would be a surprise, shocking, right? A shocker. When we get the message very clear to the white supremacists, we understand it very clear that in the black community, this is still happening. The things that were happening in the past are still happening now. And they would hate to admit that these things are happening. And it's funny that it always is no signs of foul play. and they took their own life. And you never hear anything else about it. Kind of like the story with the brother from Delta State, Trey Reed. Remember the brother from the young man from Delta State University who was found hanging inside the chief concourse of the university? And a university, you know, there got to be some type of camera or something. Well, they concluded even with him that they found no signs of foul play. It's always the same thing. And Black people do not hang themselves. Black people don't have a history of hanging themselves. And it's almost, it's like they're playing in our face. They're literally playing in our face. And it just, like the sister said, like Kalma said, it will never sit right with me. Like, it'll never sit right in my mind. And then it's just the nature of the crime is something that historically we have never been known to do. Okay. You know, I don't know. I don't want to say too much about, you know, taking your own life because, you know, they try to flag you for stuff like that. But there's certain instances where people, you know, they might do something to themselves, maybe cut themselves or, you know, take a whole bunch of pills. There's so many other ways that people do those things, but Black people with the history deciding out of all things that you could do is to tie a rope around your neck and hang yourself from a tree. I mean, come on. It will never sit right. It will never make sense. And what Black people need to understand is that we don't live in a post-racial society. I think many Black people, what I noticed, were shocked during the trial, during the, you know, what happened with, not the trial, but the verdict, the not guilty verdict with Rick Child, with Cyrus Belton, and then right after that, Carmelo Anthony, and you've seen the outpouring of racial hatred on social media. I think a lot of Black people were surprised at that. And you probably think like these people are just talking. All of them be burner accounts. They be accounts that they just made up just to say how much they hate Black people. I want you to really think about that. Now, if somebody is, all these people are willing to, if they feel this way and they're willing to go, you know, create a whole account just to troll and to, you know, tell Black people how much they hate them, then what else are they capable of doing in a cowardly manner? Let's not talk about Juneteenth. All that hate that just came out over Juneteenth. What more are they willing to do? And this sister was found on Juneteenth. I wasn't gonna play the video out of respect for the family, but there's a video also in a park. So, like I said before, I said again, I will never, ever accept that. Black people don't hang themselves. You got to be shitting me. And it's always the same old story because somebody doesn't want you or want people to realize that the same old people are still here. It's just the descendants of those people from the past. All right. So, yeah. So condolences to the sister's family. It's a shame that, you know, there's always this cover up. And I have been waiting. I just had to look it up today. I have been waiting for the results because they were saying they're doing extra investigations and they're supposed to be doing another autopsy with Trey Reed, who was found hanging in the middle of the university. And you have to ask yourself, what university doesn't have cameras everywhere? Like, that doesn't even make sense. But, you know, they will cover up for each other, especially if they're friends with the DA and the prosecutor and then their family friends with the judge and all of that. That goes on more than people actually think in America. That was going on in Ferguson. Go look up that story about Ferguson after the Mike Brown thing. And they found out that in Ferguson that they was in cahoots. The DA, the prosecutor, and the judge, they were in cahoots to make money by prosecuting as many Black people as they could, because, you know, it's a get rich scheme. I mean, you make a lot of money. The the school to prison pipeline is a very real thing. You have a lot of people that are invested in the money that they get from sending people to prison. You got a lot of people that invested in the supplies that are supplied to prisons, from the utensils to the clothing to the commissary. It's a big business. And the more people going upstate, the more money these people were making. And they found out through an investigation that all of these people were in cahoots to just railroad people. So more often than not, you find that these systems are created for their people to win and also get away with crimes. When black people ain't never, if you did the crime, you are doing the goddamn time. You are going to do the time. I don't care about how much crime black people do to one another. It's either going to go one or two ways. You're going to end up dead, or you're going to end up in jail for the rest of most of your life, or all of your life. Because when we do crimes, we get prosecuted. If it ain't street justice, it's going to be the quote unquote justice system that's going to get you. And that's damn near a guarantee. But anyway, y'all know how I get. I could talk a lot, right? But my condolences to the sister. My condolences. All right. So let me let's want to talk about there's a video with Emmanuel Oko, sportscaster. There's a video I seen. I want to go over that real quick. Let's see if I can get this up here. Somewhere around the 10 mark.
For black people, because they can literally see themselves as that person. You can't fix a problem you don't know exists. I'm letting you know it exists. So now let's just all work to fix it.
I have a question. Do police officers make you nervous?
Heck yes.
Now, what if it was a black police officer?
Nah, it's different. So black people often navigate white spaces as a foreigner. As I sit in this room, I'm one of 3 black people in here. You sit in this room and you're one of 35 white people in here. It's natural for you.
Yeah.
You're home. Whenever I walk into a room, a restaurant, church, anywhere, I'm looking for black people. Just in case something pops off, it's like, okay, we here. Me and you, like we're together. Because so many black people in life have probably gone through some sort of struggle, there's an instant connection.
It makes you relax a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still dealing with a cop, so you're nervous naturally.
But it's if I can now be honest, I see he's black before I see he's a cop.
Right.
So he's talking with these cops, about race relations and dealing with black people. And he says he's more comfortable when he sees a black person. And then he gives a scenario of like, wherever you run into black people, you're looking for that black person that, okay, we see eye to eye. And if something goes down, I know I got somebody on my team. Now the police part, I understand what he's saying in general, but in real reality, just from experience and the things that I've seen and I know, I see a black officer, and y'all know I say this all the time because it's the truth. I see a black officer, I don't think that I'm going to get the benefit of the doubt with a black officer. In fact, I think the black officer may go a little harder on me, right? Or just give me the same treatment as his white counterparts. I don't think like that, because there have been black officers that have unalived black people. There have been black officers that abuse their authority with black people. There's officers that try to show off in front of their counterparts. So the point I'm making is, when it comes to the uniform, it's about the culture that you put on when you put the uniform on. Okay. It has nothing to do with who it is. It can be white, black, Asian, Mexican. They're putting on the culture of law enforcement. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what has always been the culture of law enforcement? The culture of law enforcement has always been to oppress and brutalize and police Black and brown communities. And this is where they get their quotas from, to hunt Black and brown communities. And so by him saying that, I get what he's trying to say, but when it comes to the uniform, I just can't. I just can't concede and say, okay, I got somebody in my corner. It's a Black officer. He understands my struggle. He understands where I come from. It doesn't necessarily go like that. You know what I'm saying? But as far as when we out and about in the streets and we see Black people, there's some unspoken language between Black people where you don't have to know each other. You can just look at each other and just give each other that nod, and maybe a situation or something like that, and you just already know, man, what is going on? Y'all agree and see eye to eye without even speaking to one another. That is definitely something that is something that happens with us. It's like, and I think it happens with everybody, but I get what he's saying with that. Now, as far as being comfortable around a whole bunch of white officers, I don't think you could ever get comfortable. You're always going to be nervous, even if you are doing everything right. You don't have a record. It's just natural. Why is that? Why would I say that? It's because at the end of the day, people see themselves in their own race, just like he just described. Like he said, he'll feel a certain type of way by seeing a Black officer, hypothetically, but in reality, people see what they see. They feel more at ease with their own kind, so to speak. And so you hear it all the time, how people talk about the difference in between how law enforcement treats white people versus Black people. And my take on that is basically, when someone looks like you, you are more inclined to see yourself in them and have compassion on them. So say, for instance, a young white officer, he's dealing with an older white person that's belligerent or something. He's more inclined to see that older white person, or maybe an aunt or an uncle or something like that. Just see himself in those people, in their trauma or their emergency, whatever they're going through. Versus with a Black person, you see them as a suspect. You see them as, something you have to police, and you have less compassion in policing them. There's plenty of examples online with police literally talking white people down, white people with guns and knives in their hands. And on the other side, literally gunning a Black man down simply for they thinking he had a gun, when really he just had a cell phone. They just take it from 0 to 100. It's because you don't see yourself in that person. And that's natural. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's nothing wrong with it, but we have to understand what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people that don't grow up in a Black and brown neighborhood, that live their life a certain kind of way, seeing things about Black people in the media, propaganda and stereotypes, which I'm going to talk about. And then they put on a uniform, and now they're circling these communities like sharks, trying to make arrest and having this propaganda and this thing in the back of their head. They're scared of the people that they're supposed to be policing. So the first thing they're going to do is, go to the utmost and use their firearm instead of trying to understand. So yes, I understand people being apprehensive around people that don't look like them, that are policing them, that you don't know my struggle, you don't understand me, they don't even understand you. And when I say you, I'm talking about Black people and white people. Black people don't understand white people, and white people don't understand Black people from realistically speaking. I'm not talking about online, I'm not talking about sports, I'm not talking about entertainment, I'm not talking about nothing. I'm talking about real life, everyday Black people versus real life, everyday white people. Because people put on faces when they're at school, when they're at work, when they're in public. People put on a facade, so to speak. So that's not the real you. You get what I'm saying? And so, I understand what he's saying, but some of the things, I think there's more nuance to that discussion. All right. That's what I think. I think it's more nuance to that. Yeah, you said Dominic said, yeah, to hunt black and brown communities. Yeah, they go to school to hunt black and brown communities. And they don't know nothing about these people. So how can you even have compassion on these people? How can you even care what these people are going through? Like, why would you even care what they're going through? As far as you're concerned, they're already guilty. We live a world where if you call the police for help for a mental disorder for a family member, that family member get unalive. That's the reality we live in. Okay. So let me get this one. This is Megyn Kelly. I'm sure some people have seen this one with Megyn Kelly recently telling Haitians to leave the country, to go home.
Go home. Go back to fucking Haiti. And look, this has been going on for over a dozen years. Go home. Get out. We know our country's better than yours. That's because we filled it with our work ethic and our culture and our values. You being here only dilutes it for us, those who built it and live it. And half of you people, more than half, you won't assimilate. We don't want you. We don't care if you're offended. Get out. Go home. Go back to fucking Haiti. Sorry.
Then she had the nerve to say sorry after she said, go back to fucking Haiti. Listen, the pride is just, it's crazy. The pride that they have. The pride is what deceives them. The pride that they had, it's a false pride. That's a false pride to say we built the country. That's that Charlie Kirk talk. We built the country. And America does not exist without different people being here. Okay, that's just the truth. We built the country. We built it with our culture. What culture? Culture. Pillaging, lying, and stealing, and breaking every treaty of the Native American Indians. That culture. Or the culture of enslavement. The culture of believing Black people are three-fifths of a human being. The culture of believing that you are superior to everyone. That culture is what built America. The culture of burning down every town that Black people built because of jealousy and envy. That culture. Really, Megyn? The culture is what built America. That culture is what built America. The culture of using Mexicans to come here during the Bracero program and pick fruit and vegetables for America, then kicking them out over and over again, using them for lower wages. Work that white Americans wouldn't do or couldn't do. That culture built America. The culture of building a railroad from the east to the west. Part of it, Asians, the other part of it, Black people. That culture. Okay. All right. That's that culture. That culture built America. That's the culture she's talking about. Okay. That's the culture. The culture of civil rights. The culture of shooting Martin Luther King in the face, and he talked about nonviolence. That culture. The culture of assassination, JFK, Abraham Lincoln, the list goes on and on. The culture of, smoking, Charlie Kirk. That's the culture you're talking about that built America. The culture of destabilizing other countries, going into the countries and overthrowing the government and having the people turn against the government. That's the culture you're talking about. These people have their nerve to feel the way they do, but like I said before, their pride deceives them. There's going to be a reckoning for this type of belief and this type of feeling of invincibility. There's going to be a reckoning. Trust and believe. It's going to be a biblical reckoning. And that pride right there is the same pride Donald Trump had, the same pride Charlie Kirk had, the same pride of the founding fathers. And speaking of the founding fathers, I just reminded myself, I want to talk about that. You know, Texas is they're going to pass a law to where children are going to read the Bible again in schools. It's going to start in 2030. But the culture of the early fathers who were quote unquote Christians, but had slaves themselves, that is the culture she's talking about. They did not build America. America is built off the blood, sweat, and tears of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indian people. Point blank, period. Without them, America wouldn't even be the great place that people think it is to this day. Even with all of the racism and the hatred and the prejudice against Black and brown people. All right. So there's another story that I almost forgot. And this story is, let me remove not Megyn Kelly, but Karen Kelly. Let me remove her off the screen. I don't know. I'm going to screen share it. So I'm just going to read a little article, okay? Religion role as Texas makes Bible story required reading in schools. Okay. So it says that a Texas education panel has approved plans to make Bible stories mandatory for all 5 million public school students in the state, sparking a row about separation of church and state. The required readings, which don't come into effect until 2030, include Bible passages about Adam and Eve and from the book of Exodus, where God speaks to Moses through a burning bush. Critics say that the new reading requirements will also include Dickens and Shakespeare, infringe on religious freedoms, and lack diversity. Of course, there's going to be a problem with that because, you know, all people are not Christian. This is not an indictment on the Bible, but the religion of Christianity is the same religion that Megyn Kelly follows. That religion of Christianity is the same religion that the founding fathers followed. That religion of Christianity is the same religion of the people who lied, stole, and cheated the Native American Indians and broke every treaty. It's the same one who believed that they could enslave Black people and change words in the Bible. That religion of Christianity is the reason why America is in other countries destabilizing them. And so you have different people that believe different things in America. So this is going to cause a problem because, you know, you can't force a person to believe a certain kind of way. You can't force Christianity on people, especially when it has shown that it has not worked. Okay. And you have Muslim children, you have, Jehovah's Witness, you have Catholic, you have all of these different beliefs of different people in different groups. And so that's what's going to cause that problem, that issue right there, because now it's like you're trying to force white Jesus on me. You're trying to force it. And then me, I'm an Israelite. Me and my children don't even stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, right? And so that would never fly with me. But I'm in California. This is in Texas. And, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But at the end of the day, this is going to cause an issue with a lot of people. And they're forcing this religion of Christianity on people in Texas. And I assume they believe it's going to make, the new generation real good people, make them, biblically minded and, have compassion and follow the 10 Commandments and all that. But we see from the past how Christianity worked for the white man. And it wasn't about love. It was not about, embracing differences in brotherhood, you know, the doctrine that Christianity teaches, that everybody is one under white Jesus. Yeah, they ain't never showed that. They only showed white supremacy under Christianity. Okay, let me keep reading and wrap this up. It says, the Republican-controlled State Board of Education approved the measure at a 9-5 vote, with one Republican joining Democrats to vote against it. We are bringing the Bible back into schools this week for the first time in 60 years. Brennan Hall, a Republican member of the Board of Education, said this week. Supporters say school children ought to learn about Judeo-Christian traditions that they argue were essential to the nation's founding. Remember, this nation was founded on bloodshed, on robbery and theft and enslavement. The new list establishes for the first time books that students across Texas must read. It includes English literature classics such as Charles Dickens's Great Expectations and William Shakespeare's The Tragedy of Julius Caesar. And of course, the Christian Bible. The Bible, well, I mean, white Jesus. Because don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted. When we're talking about the Bible, I'm talking about something totally separate from the Christianity, the religion, the man-made religion that enslaved and murdered millions in the name of white Jesus. And that's what they're going to be pushing in the school in Texas. So you parents, you got something to worry about, because now they're trying to re-indoctrinate people with this white Jesus philosophy called Christianity that a lot of Black people are indoctrinated to this day. Martin Luther King was indoctrinated. Martin Luther King found out at the end that was a mistake, to think that everybody can hold hands in brotherhood. That just was not working. He found it out, and that's the part that they don't tell you. They don't tell you what he said towards the end. But what they do is keep replaying that "I have a dream" speech, which is diabolical, but it keeps people asleep and keeps them pacified. All right. So now I want to get to my topic. My topic is about propaganda, okay? And as I do that, my topic is about propaganda, and I want to talk a little bit about propaganda. And, maybe if you didn't know, you'll learn something as I go over propaganda. Okay, let me get my notes together. Shout out to everybody that's rocking with me. I appreciate you. So, propaganda. All right. So there has been propaganda that was used against Black people. So first of all, we want to establish what is propaganda. Now, propaganda is a form of communication aimed at influencing the attitude and perception or the behavior of an audience to further a specific cause, agenda, a political viewpoint, or a political viewpoint. So propaganda is basically something to influence a person, to make them think a certain kind of way about a group of people. And propaganda is used in radio, television, and now social media. Okay, music. So propaganda is used this way rather than presenting objective facts. It selectively shares information, distorts the truth, or triggers an emotional response. Okay. So that's what propaganda does, because propaganda can be something that is said and it makes you feel a certain way about a group of people. And we know racism, we know the certain terms that have been used against Black people. And so that's propaganda. Or, let's just say Donald Trump says something about Mexicans. He just says a broad term about Mexicans or immigrants. That's propaganda. Okay. Another way propaganda is used is through memes, images, television, ads, radio, and it can demonize a whole group Like, it has the power to demonize a whole group. And one of the examples I'm going to use is, of course, many people know this about the Jewish people and the Nazis. And the Nazis basically, let me make sure we're still good. The Nazis, what they did was they had a whole unit, a propagandist unit that was led by like a general, where they made films, they made images. Matter of fact, there's an image. I should have it. There's an image. There's a famous image of the degenerate music. Let me show you. So what they did was they put images in museums about Jewish people. They played films. They made movies about Jewish people being a certain kind of way. They did all type of things to make people start to turn and look at Jewish people a certain kind of way, and without facts. Now, I'll get it later. I'll get that image later. Now, this is very powerful because later on, Jewish people in America became powerful, and they run like most of the Hollywood studios, behind a lot of these record deals and with black rappers and stuff like that. And so if any people know the power of propaganda and the power of images and projecting a people a certain kind of way, Jewish people would know that because of what happened in Nazi Germany. So I'm using them not because I agree with either or I support either or, but it's a good example of how propaganda works. Okay. And so if you just fast forward to even in the music industry, right? The music industry, there was a music exec that was on what's his name, like Leroy Cohen. He was on The Breakfast Club, and basically Charlemagne asked him about the images that are projected in the music videos, and he asked him about would he change it, something like that. Y'all probably can correct me. And he was like, he got family to feed. So he doesn't care about the negative images that they're pushing out through these signing these rappers. And, they're rapping about destruction and killing their people. They don't care about that. Right. But they will never put cast their children in that light. But that's not just their fault. It is also the fault of Black leadership that allows for our sons and daughters to be advertised or paraded in that way. Or the fact that we come from nothing and we're willing to sign over our lives to these record companies just because we know we're going to get a lump sum of money and millions of dollars. So we're willing to do whatever the record company is asking us to do, or project the image that they're asking us to do. Well, he said he got a family to feed. But the point I'm making is, like, they would never do their younger generation like that, have the women and the men, with negative images in music. They would never do that, or in movies. Okay. So that's one thing about propaganda. It's very strong because people see these images and then they connect the images with the words that are being said, and people are very visual. I'm gonna get into that, how it is. Images are very powerful. The images that you see, your brain is processing them in a millisecond. You know what I mean? Whereas when you have images with words, it takes some time. You got to do some reading. It takes more time for everything to process. But an image will speak to your emotion. What we just said about propaganda, it speaks to the emotion, and it just gives you an idea about something. Sorry, excuse me. Now, another part of propaganda is stereotyping. Okay, so propaganda takes a complex group of individuals and basically reduces them to one simple negative idea. You take a people and reduce them to one simple negative idea. Back in the day, what did they used to say about Black people? Black people are lazy. Black people like to be on welfare. That's what propaganda has done. It's reduced Black people to being lazy, being on welfare, being criminals. Where the people who are the most people on welfare are white people. But see, since it's been said so many times, it's been published in newspapers, it's been said over the radio so many times, many people believe it. They no longer have the ability to critical think. They just believe the propaganda. No time to break down something, to do some inspection and investigate something to get the real truth. That doesn't matter to people, you know? So another good one would be when you reduce people to a terrorist. Like when I was coming up, I'm an 80s baby, but you know, we lived through 9/11, the terrorist attacks, 9/11, World Trade Towers. After that, what you've seen a lot in you heard a lot too, was the word insurgent, and you heard terrorists a lot. And then you had all of these movies where the plot was some type of terrorist siege or something like that. That was propaganda put in the movies. I hope I'm making sense to somebody. I hope somebody's learning something. That was propaganda put into the movies, right? 9/11. More recently, you got this war going on in Israel with the Palestinians. And what do? They just put it out there that these Palestinians, they want to, they want to take over the world. They want to, kill people. They doing this, they doing that. We blew up a school because the insurgents, they hide inside of a school. We blew up a hospital because they make the hospitals their bases. They hide behind the women and children, so we have to blow up so we don't know that. No one has did no investigation. You don't know that. But this is what's being reported on the news. This can be considered propaganda, because you don't even have no critical thinking to say, okay, let me investigate this. Let me look into it. No, people agree with it. They say, yeah, we need to get rid of these terrorists. We need to get rid of them. So stereotypes, that's part of propaganda. And believe it or not, Black people believe the stereotypes. So this is something that this is something that Black people suffer from. It's called, and y'all know this, and I'm going to go into it a little bit. It's called internalized racism. A lot of Black people suffer from internalized racism. So what is internalized racism? Internalized racism is it occurs inside of an individual from a marginalized group unconsciously. Like you don't even know that this is happening to you. And you start to accept and internalize the negative stereotypes, the prejudices, the biases about your own racial group, right? It happens when societal messages about racial hierarchy become so pervasive that the people begin to view themselves through the lens of the dominant culture. That sounds very familiar because Black people do have internalized racism, and there's a lot of forms of internalized racism. One of the forms of internalized racism is beauty. What Black people think is beautiful, okay? What we consider to be beautiful versus white culture, because white culture is the dominant culture, right? And so we start to think that maybe if our eyes are lighter, maybe if our hair is a little less kinkier or straighter, maybe we're more beautiful. Okay. Another one is colorism. Yeah, this goes back to the Willie Lynch too, but colorism is another one of them where, we know there is a big difference in how people treat different shades of the same people. We see light-skinned people differently than we see dark-skinned people, and vice versa. We see people with lighter shade color eyes different from people that have brown eyes, darker shade of eyes. We suffer from colorism in our community. This is internalized racism. You ever heard Black people say, well, those ain't Black people, those are niggas? A good example of internalized racism is when you see how Black Conservatives Act and how they talk, their talking points. A good example, she's no longer talking like that, but Candace Owens. Candace Owens, used to really go in on Black culture, and then she learned that, she could do that until she talked about the wrong people, and then they fired her, and people turned against her or whatnot. But Candace Owens was a good example of that, of the internalized racism. It's almost like you start to look at Black people through the lens of white people, and then you become embarrassed inside because you identify so much with white people that you're embarrassed that you're Black. And so you try to make a separation between you're a different kind of Black person. But those Black people over there, they thugs, they criminals, those niggas. I'm a Black person. I'm distinguished. I'm not like them. I'm a Black person. Those are niggas. And that's internalized racism. So that comes from Black people actually believing the propaganda, the stereotypes that whites have created. Starts to believe it, and unconsciously you start to actually see yourself and your people through the lens of white supremacy, which a lot of Black people do, especially today, especially with social media. It's very, very clear. Okay. So another thing about propaganda is scapegoating. What the system does is, instead of looking at the problems that it's struggling with in society and say, okay, we're going to fix it, like the economy being bad, crime, social unrest, the answer to the propaganda is to scapegoat a group of people, and we already know who they always blame. They make Black people the scapegoat. Black people become the problem of the issues. And so without no critical thinking or no accountability of how the issue started, they look to marginalized groups like Black and brown people and make them the scapegoat of the problem, instead of taking accountability for who actually created the problem. That's another one. And so again, another example would be, it already used it, but how the Nazis blamed the Jews for World War I. That would be a good one too. Say, okay, you blaming these people for the reason why we're having a war. You're blaming the marginalized group when it's more nuanced, it's deeper than that, and it deserves more critical thinking and accountability, instead of just saying, hey, okay, it's your fault, not our fault, not bad planning, not the fact that we don't know how to run the country, not the fact that we don't know how to be honest about racism. None of that matters. Black people is the problem because they won't let the past go, and they keep talking about their lives matter and stuff like that. Scapegoating, that's a part of propaganda. Okay, another part of propaganda is dehumanization. This is very, very relevant because it happens to this day with Black people in America. It's when they use certain language and they start comparing Black people to animals. You start to take people and compare them to animals, call them monkeys. They just recently they was calling Obama and Michelle Obama a monkey, right? They was calling Black people monkeys over this. Well, they always do that. But historically, this has been one of the things they have done. They have compared Black people to animals, violent animals like criminals and things of that nature. So now they put it to where someone can do something to you, someone can discriminate against you, and they can treat Black people in a certain kind of way. And now to the public, it becomes acceptable. You are animals, you don't some of the more recent things is America would be better off without you animals, without Black people, and things of that nature. And so after a while, people are desensitized, and you've seen it happen with this 14-year-old with Cyrus Belton, where You know, these people came out in droves saying that he deserved it, going under the mother's post, talking bad about her son. So who was really the animals, right? But dehumanization is another part of propaganda, to make a people start to seem like and compare them to something that is not human. So now you can treat them as though they are not human. All right. And so these are this is propaganda in a nutshell, right? The stereotyping, the scapegoating, these are the things. And let me just add something to it. When it comes to the propaganda, as far as the images and social media, the memes, the things that people are creating. Remember, more recently, they were doing something with Carmelo Anthony, making his head a watermelon and things of that nature. These are very old things. Before social media, they used to draw them on postcards. You had an artist drawing that stuff, right? But I'm just going to read a little bit about images, okay? Our brains process visuals at 60,000 times faster than text. So your brain will process an image 60,000 times faster than text. And so you see an image and your brain has already processed it versus reading. So that's how powerful images are. And so well, I don't want to say like it was long ago, because it wasn't, because it's still happening. But what white people would do was make all of these postcards, and they make these visuals of black people being a coon, being a Jezebel, like a woman that was promiscuous, loving fried chicken and loving watermelon and stuff like that. And that was a form of propaganda that still exists to this day. Let me keep going about the visuals. It says that people are visual beings, people are visual beings, evolved from the start to understand visual information more quickly and effectively. A Science Daily study from 2009 confirmed neural responses to an image consistently occur within as little as 100 milliseconds. So images are very important in how they are placed in what you see. Now, what makes an image even more powerful is when you add words, say a music video. Okay. So if you seeing images with a half naked woman in a music video, or you seeing images with a dude in a music video, you know, with his guns in his hand, youngster, you know what I mean? That speaks subconsciously to your brain very quickly. Into people, what it is telling them is that these people are animals. And this is not on purpose. This is by design. The propaganda that we see in the world today is by design. It's by design. Okay. And so I hope that I explained what propaganda is, internal racism is, and also how it affects how we see ourselves and how people see us. So yeah, that's it, y'all. All right. That's the live. I hope that brothers and sisters learn something or can take something from it. And I appreciate everybody. I give y'all a shout out. Sister Madanam, Ron Coleman, always rocking me. Renee Gaines, Kyle Moss Boff, Dominic, shout out to you. Derek, shout out to you. Like I said, man, I don't know how it's going to go as far as me going live on Sunday. I'm looking for a schedule change. So at my slavery. So we'll see. But we're just gonna, when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. We'll see what's going on. All right. So with that, y'all, I appreciate y'all for the time. Make sure you share this video. Renee said she definitely learned something tonight. That's right. I mean, if for the platform, I ain't making no money off the platform. I better be getting my money while I'm on this platform, right? I better be like teaching someone and, bringing some information, bringing Black history, a story or something that people can learn from or you never heard before. So that's my aim. That's always been my aim. And yeah, I'm just going to keep rocking it out. And I appreciate everybody that be locking in. You know what I mean? Lock in, get loaded, slide with me, ride with me, whatever it is, man. I'll see y'all next time. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all have a good night. Love you. This is Black Authentic Truth.